It could be going. I do not know. It says stop streaming.
I'll check it
I mean, yeah, I also haven't used this. I just literally created this scene. So the audio does seem pretty good. I guess I could add a camera to this, right? Like,
out. And if you want to stream your face, sure.
yeah, why not, man? Unfortunately, it's gonna happen, right? I'm gonna like put my face on YouTube and everything else to promote this because that's how much I would love to be a full-time game dev. Nice. Okay, I don't need to be 100% of it. Is there anything important in that corner of the game? I don't think so. Go look where I was sitting just a sanity check. Not sure where I was. Well, that's only a little nerve-wracking.
What are you missing?
My phone.
Oh no.
I don't exactly remember having it here. I might have left it in my car and just hadn't thought about it. Sorry, I'm gonna run out there real quick.
Hey, go for it.
just left it at home.
Whoops.
I hadn't thought about it since I was like rushing up here, so I was gonna try to like do another feature or two, and then I hadn't thought about it or touched my phone, so I think I took it off and left it. It's either like in my bag or not. Did we manage to confirm the stream was working?
Yes.
Nice. I'm gonna hope the audio is okay, but there's not really a great way for me to know. All right, well, I guess I'll get going. Hello, my name is Bryce. I am here from GameStar Paradise, a studio me and Naeem are founding to hopefully release the game Fishtographers later this year. And so this is one of the first times I'm publicly speaking about it, and one of the first times I've publicly spoken about a game that I've created as well. I've done a lot of tech talking, but not a lot of like game sharing. And so it is a little bit of a daunting task because I didn't put together slides or anything like that. Partially because I think that's like not cool and not the vibe, but also because I was too busy making the game to put together too much of a presentation. So hopefully the bits that I show will be interesting and will be good context and worth the share. So the first thing I want to talk about is the concept of Fishtographer. So at the highest level of Fishtographer, you are a person who takes pictures of fish, and the goal from the project is that you swim around in these kind of aquatic environments and that you're able to photograph the fish. And I guess I should say the button that I just pressed there is a debug key, and I'll show the debug system, but I am able to jump around within the game quite readily, right? So there might be some jumps to like tech demos here. So this is what a normal level would look like, and you would have your largemouth bass and your largemouth bass during the day near the surface, and your largemouth bass and grayling during the night. And those are the photographs you need to get. And so you can see this is a grayling here, and that there isn't a largemouth bass on the screen. And so what this kind of becomes is almost like hello Connor, a moving Pictionary type game, right? Where like at the moment, like I am scanning for this fish right here. And then when you find it, you need to zoom in on it and take the picture. And then when you zoom out, you'll get the completion of the stars. And so what we got there were those two of the fish themselves. So that's kind of like the high level of the gameplay. The dream is that this thing on the right here is a fish dex, kind of like Pokemon, and you got to catch them all, you know, in the terms of like get a picture of all of them. And so once that's the goal, is like go on dives, complete these missions. There's another side quest here of get this trash out as well. And then when you complete a mission, I should have done it, right? So this dives over this many kilograms of trash. And so then we would be extracted from a level. And the idea is that there are multiple biomes of that. There are multiple challenges, multiple types of fish. And your goal, and this is a screenshot of the picture that I took, right? And so because it satisfied 2 stars, there's a bug, it should only be doing 1 star each. And then these are the fish that we got in those pictures going into our fish decks. So when I say Fishtographer, at a high level, very curious if this will work, because I kind of just touched some of this. Okay, nice. Yeah, so this would be like you uploaded it and like your likes are going up and your followers are going up. And then in addition to that, you get paid out some money in ad revenue as well. And so those are kind of like the main like currencies, if you will, of the game, is like the actual money here, and then the stars that you get from completing challenges inside of the Fishtographers challenges, and also like the fish decks of collecting all of the individual ones. So that's one of what I would call the loops. The other loop, I actually am completely spacing on the hotkey right now, so this will be a good chance to show the debug menu. So one of the things that's been going on is like it's hard to test games like in a way that like, you know, is very difficult, because there are times like you need to like not only like you need to have your character level like 67 like with this talent, you know what I mean, to be able to like really go test it. Obviously we don't have characters or levels, but just like as an example. And so what I have is an entire system in the game that is hotkeys to trigger scenarios within the game. And so these allow me to press buttons and jump around real quick. And so when I'm looking for the trash demo, I just moved all of these around, unfortunately. So I alphabetized them. All right, so it's I. So this is kind of the other level type that we have. So some of the core fantasies are like you want to get the trash out of the ocean. All right, sorry, that was not actually the right one. That must be, we can look in the code here. So trash demo says key I. Okay, maybe I pressed the button wrong. Huh. Okay. Well, it's really O. I don't actually know what's going on there. But so yeah, so this is the second type of level that is basically not about photographing fish and is instead about getting the trash out of the biomes here. And so it's basically like a kind of like a Subway Surfer style, like you're going to kind of go right no matter what, and then you want to just like keep online and to be able to like get these cans here out. And like this is like a rip currents, and yeah, I've worked on balancing this a little bit. There's still some ungettable cans, and obviously the current fish are the fish from the other level, so they look really weird, like moonwalking in place. But the idea is that these would kind of break up the cycle of doing the photography loop. So instead of just like spamming the photography loop every like, you know, again and again and again and again, basically you do 2 photography loops and then this. And so, you know, the gameplay here it's nothing revolutionary, I would say, but it also does kind of like keep you doing it, right? Where you're like, yeah, okay, I want to get the cans. And I do think like when we fix the fish to be unique for this level, it would definitely be a lot better. Actually curious what the mermaid looks like here. I just changed her sprite a lot. Nope, she's still there. Nice. But yeah, so then you're seeing like the weight of the trash, and the idea is like that number is constantly ticking up as you're progressing. So with the understanding that those are kind of the 2 level types, if you will, there is I watched a talk, or I guess a YouTube video, I shouldn't say a talk, a YouTube video of a guy who talked about loops in video games. And, you know, what I just showed there, I would consider like 2 different types of loop. Like one where you're like, hey, we're scanning and we're going to find the fish that we need to like swim over to, take the picture of. And the other one where like, hey, we're just kind of going and going until we get all the trash out. But the thing that he said was loops are great, but you need to build a chain. And I was like, I didn't quite understand it, but ultimately, I don't know the button for the calendar demo. I thought it was C. Yeah, okay. So ultimately, they're like each one of, oh no, sorry. This is what happens when you press too many dev buttons, right? Like you can mess it up. So But basically, each of the dive, like, so the dive where we went down and took the picture would be like January. And then you do another one for photography taken would be January. And then March would be the restoration dive. And it would like take a picture of you while you're swimming. And the idea is that you're putting together a calendar that gets sold for charity to raise money for cleaning up the ocean. And so that's kind of like where instead of it just be like, hey, just do the level over and over and over again, it's like those levels really fit into this like overarching year. And then the idea is there would be challenges here for this. So there's super fans. So maybe your super fan wants you to like only do anchors, and like that's one you can like clearly control just by clicking. But they would also have challenges like night shots. So you'd have to like, you know, make sure you got a picture of something at night in March, or like, so there'd actually be a little bit of like which one of these you choose matters for your calendar that you're creating. Yeah, and then this button right here kind of re-rolls them. So that's all there. Let's think of, should I show the intro? Yeah, I guess let's do that. Let's play the game as it's intended from the story mode. So obviously this is our main menu. There's some stuff I want to do here. I'll talk about Cozy Coast in a second. But the story mode is kind of the stitching together of all of the things that I just showed. So this is the app notification that you're supposed to notice. I don't think it's quite clear enough. It needs to probably bounce. But so when you go in here, the idea is like you're looking at like a social media, and Beth's she's like the founder of Fishtographers. And a big, like what I've tried to do is like, you know, identify player motivations. And it's like, you know, and I want to make sure that those motivations exist within me as well. I would like the oceans to be clean. I think the oceans look cool, and I'm like fascinated by like underwater stuff. And so like we really try to deliver on those. And the first one was like our coolest shot of like the coral reef at night. This one is saying like, hey, there's trash in the water. And then this one is saying like, hey, you should join the annual fishbowl competition. And basically you click this button here, and now you have a brand new app. And then this is when you're inside of the Fishtographers. You come here, you accept the fishbowl challenge, which I do think it's not super clear. There needs to be more tutorial, but this is one of the things is like, you got to educate your players. Like coming from like a software development environment, like where I make like web UIs and stuff, we talk a lot about user experience and about education and about how hard is it to learn, how hard is it to repeat. And in games, it is this, I think, the bottom of the screen, like here's the button that you need to press, notification that comes up to let you know like, hey, spacebar puts you into photo mode. And so this is photo mode. You can see that the parallax is very weak. I need to come back and tune this. The idea is that the fish would move to, and that this would be the first demonstration of our parallax tech, and that you would get to basically see the photography mechanic without having to do the diving mechanic. And so this is designed to teach, right? And so you'll basically at that moment see the upload, see the reward structure from the dive, and you've now learned to press spacebar to go into photography mode, or you know, whatever the input is. And then you basically get to see the entire like reward cycle here as well. And this all happens like, you know, within the first like minute of the game, you know, 2 minutes of the game, really, I would say. And so from there, we now have, you know, your first money coming in, which like, so now you've seen all three of the reward cycles of it. And then there's just kind of like an implication here that you're kind of broke, right? Because like if you like, these numbers should actually be much smaller. I think we want to go from like $32 to like 107 or something, you know, so that the financial like implications of because if there's just $10 million in there, like what's the point, right? And then so from there, what's not implemented yet is that, I guess that's kind of a problem, huh? To see those together. Because that new thing I just put in is blocking the views of the other thing, so I have to be smarter than the problem. So if we go over here, I think it's N that gets us all of the friends. Yeah. So each of the friends characters has essentially their own progression here. So what would happen in the beginning is you would unlock, this would give you a notification. Like basically I'm picking up the story of what's not implemented from where we just ended with the you uploaded your fishbowl one. At that moment, you'd get a notification in here that would tell you Beth wants to be your friend. And you would have to accept her friendship, and then her first heart would have like a challenge that would say, hey, collect 20 Fishtographer stars, right? And then from there, you're going on these missions, getting these stars, and then that's progressing your friendship with Beth. And hers is based off Fishtography stars. Jock's is based off of, there's hostels in the game. I guess I haven't shown that very much, but you can lose a run to the shark, but then there's other ones that just impede your ability to do stuff. And so he likes it when you go on those types of runs. Pilot Joe likes it when you travel to the different biomes. So there's different, I didn't show that very much, but there's like 4 different biomes, and he likes it when you like his progression is based off the different biomes. The Ralph one's played for jokes, where he's kind of like adversarial, like kind of using you for clout, basically. And then the HR lady, hers is pretty mundane as well. And then the Captain Finch one, he unlocks that super late, and it's basically just like he randoms a favorite fish, and then he is only progressed off of pictures of that fish. So it essentially adds one random fish to like every challenge that you have to progress his stuff. And then I guess to show that too. So, okay, so those things are progressing. What's the point of them progressing, right? And that's a great question that no one asked except for me. But this, I don't actually know I don't remember the button. So the idea is there's 2 tiers of gear. 2 tiers of suit on the left here that can hold any number of trinkets, and the trinkets are quality of life stuff within inside of the levels themselves. So Naeem did all the artwork for these. Probably, I'm not going to go through all of them, but I guess like the coolest one. So these whoopee cushions inside of your adversarial relationship with Ralph, like the clout chasing guy, he basically gives you the whoopee cushion at the end of his saga that when you go up to the top to fill for air, it gives you a speed boost. So like you're faster in the level, right? And then each of the hostels, so the eel, the kraken, the puffer, and sorry, that's not the kraken, that's Inky and puffer. Like you can basically get immunity to those. And then some of these will unlock the mermaid. So basically per biome, once you get all the trash out of there, you get one that lets you like spawn the mermaid. And if you get that in your picture, you get like, gangbusters money and like, all kinds of stuff there. And so then some of them are just simple, like you'll get more money if you equipped this one. And so, so this whole system is, it's one of those things that is like, it's one of those things like I wanted it, like I wanted a gear system in my game, and like it also ties in very nicely with the progression here, because basically what's the point of being friends with these people and doing it? It's so that you can get this gear over here. Worth mentioning that there is an entire shop in the game that will support a little bit of gear here as well. So just some that aren't exactly story driven, but are more, making use of the money. So with all of that, at the highest level, that's most of the game, with the exception of Cozy Coast. So Cozy Coast is the concept that you'll build your own. Honestly, it's meant to be a clever Steam hack. Watching a lot of the stuff that they talk about on Steam, one of the things that they highly value is played time. And if I can convince people to put this on as a screensaver, then I'll get played time. Yes, it is kind of that simple, really. But basically, all of the currency you earn in story mode also double. It's not exactly doubled. The ratio, it will be a ratio and balanced, right? But will come over here. And so then you're able to essentially buy pieces for your for your island here. And so you can like resize it. The depth pushes it like back and forward between the layers. Obviously there's rotations, and then there's different colors. And this one's locked. The idea is like more of these would be locked and you would have to buy them. But then, you know, you'd be able to basically just place these fairly quickly to make whatever you wanted in your perfect layout. And like, you know, the idea is there's a lot more, there's technical more time for you to spend here doing it. So yeah, and then you can also switch the biome here between all of the biomes. I guess that's a good point. I didn't actually talk about that a lot. So this is our beach. This is it's the Arctic. This is the coral reef. This is the kelp forest, and then this is what's called the abyss. This one looks the worst here. Obviously, there's no floor, but also it's because this isn't really what the abyss looks like. When you go into the abyss, it actually dives down a lot deeper, and so it's the only one that doesn't sit at this Y level. So I need to do some stuff here if I'm going to actually include it. Right now, we're talking about not including it because without the floor, there's basically nothing on this panel that you would put in there. Also worth mentioning that there's a lot more stuff that I need to put in here. But then in addition to that, obviously you can buy the fish, right? And then you can turn them on, and it does take just a second for them to come out there. And like, it's not clear, but these are the population meters. So I turned it up to max population. So you would be able to, you know, set which fish you want and be able to set like how many of them you want spawning as well. And then it doesn't work today, but these 1, 2, 3s would be, they forgot. They triggered that particle effect today. But what they would do is give you 3 different configurations for each of the beaches. Yeah, so I think fundamentally that is the majority of the game, right? It's not like a crazy, like, expansive universe. I guess that, all right, yeah, there's one I didn't show there. So, was that NB? So, in here, if you click on this, there's this dialogue system, I guess. So it's like this doesn't, yes, I am trying to use Kirby's for my template strings. I will refuse to come off of that. And no, I haven't done it yet, obviously. In the end, these would like scroll up and you would be able to like, you know, have the chat, and like she would be like, oh, here's one of the trinkets. Like you'd get it right here. Like you'd click it in this dialogue and it'd go over to your other side. But what's also here is you get in a Fishtographers group chat. And so basically all of the characters are kind of in this group chat, so we can have like more like, you know, almost dialogue cutscene level like cutaways here, right? And it's not you know, obviously like this is meant to be like bang for the buck game dev, where it's like, you know, how can we get a story? Well, we have apps and text messages, like basically a group chat behind all the characters, and then we can make them say whatever they want, right? Yeah, and so with that really is the bulk of the game. And I think I'd talk a little bit about the journey of how we got here. So me and Naeem did Global Game Jam. I think I can get to it from here, actually. So we did Fishtographer as a global game jam, GGJ, with the Memphis game developers. Shout out, we're back. And if you were there, it got snowed out, so we were like both working from home, and it really was an awesome week. I went into it thinking like, oh man, this will probably be kind of fun. Like it'll be novel to play around with some game tech. And then what happened, because we were snowed in, like we just kept working. And it was like, basically there was nothing else to do. Like you weren't getting out of your house, so you might as well just keep grinding. And then because the two of us had like worked remotely together that entire time, it was like, well, why would we stop? Like, yeah, the game jam ended, but like we submitted, and yeah, like we needed to sleep after that, because like, you know, it's like you're just very tired, but like woke up 24 hours later, like, yeah, why would we stop? Like, we can keep doing this, right? Like, it's basically just fun. And at that time, I think there really weren't like Steam ambitions. I mean, there were ambitions, but it wasn't. I did not think the game would grow to that. I think we were just talking about like, hey, let's just kind of have fun with it. And then since then, it has grown so much in scope and scale. And I feel like I've learned a lot. Like, I've really gone on a whole art journey, a whole like story writing journey, and then on top of that, just like thousands of lines of code. And so like, yeah, it's been very kind of out of the blue for me, but I'm very excited about it. And I think the last thing, just to talk about it briefly, is that it's also expanded my horizons, where like there's no world I would have done this project that is like an educational Godot project without having done Fishtographers. So like, just using Godot and being able to like put things online and like thinking of everything as a video game now essentially is like, it's been a great shift in my life. I do enjoy it. So with that said, I think I, for this audience, would like to dig into some of the technical stuff. And I think the very first thing I have to say is, boy, it's a little scary showing this code on camera, because some of it you're learning while you're doing it, and then some of it you're just like, man, I'd take anything that would look even remotely like it works right now, because I have no idea how to do it. And so I would say I would not herald this as my greatest code that I've ever written or the cleanest code base. This is, a lot of marks of my educational journey here. But there are some pretty significant pieces of it. And I think the first thing that they always do online is they always go to the main view. And when you go to the main view, this is all there is. And it's partially because of me and the way that I do things. Almost everything is in code here, like written in a script. There is some animations that are done inside of like the animation player, but my brain just works in code. And so like, I just write a lot of code. And so when you do that, you almost like don't even create like if I like, what's a good example of this? So the fish school, there's nothing here, right? Can you see this one as a scene? I can't remember. Nope, you can't. So there's nothing there, I guess. And then I programmatically go through and create a bunch of nodes and like attach them. And like, I do this stuff a lot here, where I am like looping over something and like, where is it? It's instantiate here. Yeah. So you find the actual, that's just a texture. Sorry. Where is it? Where is the thing? Sorry, it's got to be here. Oh, it's right in front of me. Sprite 2D. So this is like a node. Like, you can create this like inside of the UI and put it there. I just end up doing so much of not that. So just to say, there is no super cool piece here. Although that's not true, because then it is broken up into a lot. And one of the things I really should have done as a game developer was a lot more modular design of these things. So this is what the level looks like. It houses a lot of stuff in here that, maybe it should, maybe it shouldn't. I really struggle between like, is this stuff where it should go or not? Because like the whole main menu is here. It's not clear to tell because those buttons are programmatically changed to the ones that you see. The pause menu is here. And then the whole cozy editor is here. And so a lot of this stuff is just like there even when you don't need it. So like on the main menu, technically the cozy editor is there, and technically like, all of the things. At the lowest level of it, the water is probably like the main piece. So there's 3 layers that kind of gives us the depth. And I guess that's a thing I really didn't do a good job of showing at all, huh? So if you are here, there's a 2.5D aspect to the game. So yes, you're on that flat plane in the front, but you can also swim deeper. And in fact, some of these fish are on the back layer. And it does not happen today, but the idea is because I'm on the back layer, this top fish should have disappeared, and the back fish should have been brightened. Unfortunately, like I said, it doesn't work today, but there is a 2.5 or like a 2 depths here. And so some of the trash, like you won't be able to get it if you're on the wrong depth. And the same thing for like the hostels, which I haven't really done a good job of showing those. I guess this will be a good example of it. Oh, School of Fish. It's my new favorite thing just because I made it. Remember I showed you there's nothing there? Well, this is what that thing makes. It makes a school of fish. Gotta watch out. So the orca is the bad guy here. But if you get the chest, then the orca leaves. And just to show it, like this piece of trash right here is on the back. I can tell because of the tint. It does get pretty easy to tell like once you play it enough. So initially there were 3 layers there. I've simplified it to 2 just to make it very clear what is happening. But they're still in the water. And then probably the coolest thing that we have are these 2 things here. So without those 2 shaders, like, you know, like looks completely different. I actually don't ever see it like this very often. But what are they? So the light effect adds kind of one of those, like you see it all the time on water. Like it's the, how do you call that? Normal map water shader. I guess normal map was the wrong one. Noise is what you want. Normal maps are for reflection. So like, yeah, like this tier of water rippling. So what you do is you just generate like a noise and what's the cool one? It's like Zelda tune. Yeah, this one. So like it's basically that, but super blurred out. And then the other one, how do you get back there? Is the ripple effect, which this one is what makes it look like you're looking through water. And then it's really like the combination of the 2 of them that, because they're both moving and it's not uniformly, like it really does give you like a super strong kind of ripple effect. And so that's just basically 2 transparent shaders that sit in front of everything else underneath the water. And then basically just over time they travel. And then the truth is, man, they're really not that complicated. So in my project, and this is one of the things that absolutely sucks about the Godot editor, it does leave a lot to be desired. But in my project, I have assets, which this is where like all the art is. Like there's no code under here. There's scenes. So scenes are the ones that have this part. So like you can see the 2D visual and the script of it. So each scene has a script attached to it, but I separate those into their own directory. So I know everything under here has like a visual component. Scripts is just scripts that don't have a visual component. So there's no 2D part in there. And then shaders are the shaders. And so if we go, I'd actually have to, there's not a ton of custom shaders that I'm using in this project, but I do use these 2 to dramatic effect, I would say. So when we look at the actual shader code that does it, it is literally that long for the light effect. And, you know, it's not a ton. I mean, it's all really in the, you do attach a noise to it out here, and then you do set some variables out here. But other than that, I mean, it's really just scrolling your noise across your screen. And then similar thing with the water ripple effect, although it is like ever so slightly more, like there's, I forget what it is. There's some type of like opacity diffusion stuff that kind of happens in there. But overall, I mean, like those two shaders, like, I mean, I'll show it to myself again just to see that. So if you were to go to like 3 and then turn these off, like the difference between the water is just like night and day. It's also worth mentioning that these shaders don't work on Mac OS in the browser because the Mac browser lacks some type of like permission to the screen texture that you need. And like, yeah, I don't think it looks terrible, right? It just does look very odd to me because I only ever see it like this, and it does just bring like slightly more of the vibes. Yeah, so that's kind of the level tech. There's really the main thing that the level does, is that broken? I don't know. Is that it has a level spawner. So I think that's the other one that I should probably show here, and I should probably show it in the better editor. So this is our level spawner. It's interesting, right? Because when I wrote this thing, it was like, man, I probably need to spawn some fish, maybe some crabs, and like that'll be it. And then now it's like it spawns a whole bunch of stuff. And so the code's not the cleanest, I would say. So these are currently all of the possible timers that are in there. And it's really just like, how long should I wait? What's the interval I should do it at? And then like, you know, what should I start at anything as well? And so basically, yeah, enable, delay, and limit. And then out of that, there's this init function, which has a bunch of slop code in it to handle debug sessions, right? So all those debug things I was pressing. And it's interesting because this is the kind of stuff that if I saw a developer put a PR in at work, I'd be like, what you doing, dude? Delete that. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man, that can't make it into the production thing. Like, I get you were testing it, but like, get your little if statements out of here. But like, at this point, we're probably going to ship our debug menu. Like, there's a hacker in the game, and like, it's not a character that I showed, but if you were to complete all of his things, then I think we just turn the debug menu back on for you, so you can do whatever you want it, and then, you know, be like in universe a little bit. But basically, yeah, this thing doesn't do anything crazy. I mean, it is what it is. So basically, this thing right here gets called on a timer, and there's basically a check to say if any of these are enabled, or if the timer is enabled, then check if it needs to spawn. All of these checks if it needs to spawn look virtually identical. I did write a like singular abstraction one, but I will also just say that it is very nice in my mind that I have like, if I need to change the way the shark works, like drastically, like I can just go right there and like it can be different versus like one abstraction to handle them all. And like if I needed to add hundreds of more new things to be spawned, then like, yeah, we probably need to like clean this up. But ideally we're at the limit, and like, you know, maybe there's a couple more things. But then after that, all of these look fairly similar as well, where basically you go get the node that you're instantiating, you give it its starting position, this is the shark. So the shark is a lot simpler because it actually follows the player, and the chest just falls down. But with the fish is a good example of it. So you get the fish, and then you've got to give it a bunch of information. Like, are you swimming left to right? Are you in the front layer? Are you in the back layer, right? 0 front layer, back layer 1. And then we put you randomly somewhere actually in that. So there's even another color variation on all the fish there. Because in a world where we're using like the same asset for everything, trying as much as I can to get them to be like different, right? And then basically, yeah, it gives it its information. And then on the other side of this, there is a fish scene that has this information in it. So long story short, this is how I chose to do the randomness for some of it. Basically, you know, they act really different if they get these. And then basically in the beginning, everything needs to have functions to handle pause and unpause. This is where, again, if I knew I wanted it consistent, I would probably have change this thing to be extends like Bryce node 2D, and then I would not have to repeat all of this code across all of those pieces. And I think that's lessons for me for future projects, but the reality is like it's just not a lot to copy and paste. And then also the mermaid has different behavior here versus like she doesn't slow down as much for your bullet time. And yeah, and basically then swim points. So this is all the magic for the fish. It's basically gonna pick a start and an end, pick a number of points in the middle, like randomize where it's gonna go to those, angle towards it while it's going, and swim around. And yeah, and the result is the result. And so I'm not gonna show all of these, but I will just show one more just to show that they all do look very similar. So this is the puffer. I guess I didn't show what it does, but basically when you get close to it, it puffs up. You know what a puffer fish is. And so it has to have a little more of a physics process that kicks in when it's tracking. So some of the hostiles basically will not do that. Let me just go left or right. Or if they do, then they have some give there. So real quick, let's create a hostile environment so that I can show what those are. So I don't want to make it too crazy. But so Inky, that's Puff. Who am I forgetting? The eel. Okay, and this was the jelly one. Yeah. So this way I can at least show the designs of them. Oh no. That's not good. We broke it. Haha, Control Z. Respect my powers. That's high level witchcraft there. Oh no. It didn't work. Did I change something in here? All right, whatever. I'm not gonna try to fix it live. We'll just suffer through it. So, because luckily I have other builds that still work at home. But yeah, so these are the puffer fish, and you can see they kind of do their thing, and then when you get close to them, they're there, and when you bump into them, you get that green effect, which maybe Naeem is going to animate that, and then you also like end up going slower. So like if you're trying to get across to a fish, like you will want to avoid these, and you can see how they don't get you if they're in your other level. So it is nice to be able to like maybe switch levels real quick to avoid them. However, because the lower level is further away, you go slower back there. So, you know, the idea is trying to create some compelling gameplay. The squids, when you get too close and trigger them, do that. And we're working on that animation. I think you probably need to add a few more frames, make it a little smoother, but basically just blocks your vision in a game where, you know, they'll have 90% of it is trying to make sure you can see what you're looking at. And then the last one was the eel. Yeah, there he is. So, well, he just swam by. He was a pump fake eel, apparently. But they will swim through and do some lightning. And basically, if you get hit by that, you get stunned. Right there. So they're very minor. I mean, the game is meant to be very cozy, right? And it's like, it's not meant to be like, hey, this is about to ruin your day, as much as potentially cause you to like recalculate where you're going for your trajectory to intercept your fish. So those are there. And then I guess there's another one that I completely forgot to show. How would I do that? So here, jelly, this one. Forgot to turn on the sub. How could I forget that? Turn down a lot of the noise here. And yeah, we'll just do a bunch of them. Oh yeah, let's can't press go from in there, Bryce. There's absolutely a way to set Rider up where it can launch your Godot, and it's like, I think about doing it all the time, and it's like, I should do it, but it's like, Bryce, work on the game. Stop working on how you work on the game and try to finish this, because it's like you're already blowing the scope way out of proportion. So these are the subs. They are absolutely modeled off of the Ocean Gate sub. Very cool animation in here with the subtle rock, but then they have a malfunction, dive down, and you don't ever really know where they're gonna explode. And the idea is they are lethal like the shark if you get hit, but the hacker character who comes in, he's got a whole conspiracy vibe about these subs. He's like, of course, the super rich don't use yachts. Everybody knows you can see those from space. They're all in their underwater subs. And it's like, and so he's got like, these kind of paranoid delusions. But what'll happen is the sub, when it implodes, will actually drop a flash drive collectible that you'll only have a little bit of time to get in there and get. And so, and then the more flash drives you bring him, the like more, he'll give you buku money. He's like a late guy. But the danger in the skill curve is like if you're too soon, you'll actually get like concussed and not be able to get the flash drive. But if it's like, if it's there, you can get it. And yeah, so there's like some mechanics in there, the level spawner. And then I guess just to show the shame, we should look at the house. So the house itself houses that whole opening scene with the fishbowl and the camera and everything, but it also houses the laptop. There's nothing actually wrong with the house. The laptop is where all the problems are. So the first problem is that if you look at this thing is done at about 500 pixels wide. So it's way too small to be taking up the entire screen. And that's why you see the artifacting on the like text everywhere, because I have a setting turned on to make it not look like trash on the laptop, because the laptop is basically tiny. So part of my task to do is to upscale the laptop, which means retouching basically everything in it, which does suck. But it'll be awesome because it'll give me a chance to redo the layout here of virtually everything. And it's been painful to make because I've been designing the game and the interactions. Once I'm done, it's like, don't create anything new, Bryce, and just go make it good, right? So in here, each of the apps have their own little thing. And basically, it is a massive clusterfuck in here. Sorry for the language of the laptop code looks like this. We're only at 500. I thought it would have been worse, to be honest. The truth is, it is worse than this because a lot of these things actually have embedded code in them because it did get too big, right? Like, see, this thing has like code and like, luckily not the most there, but some of them, it is. I mean, I should have figured out the amount of code, but when we look at that one, so that was what, 500, go away shader. Level is close to 1,000. And then level spawner about 600. So again, level spawner could be deduped by probably half of that, like it could, but I'm probably not going to ever do that just because what's the point? And yeah, so let's think about this. Anything else that I really want to show? And I think the answer is probably just a little bit of this, just to show it in Godot. So Naeem does a bunch of awesome sprite sheets. And so those sprite sheets look like bunches of frames. Does a bunch of sprites. We moved away from sprite sheets and went to individual files. I understand there's a little more overhead there. We're amateur game developers, so it was whenever one of them was off and it was just causing massive problems in the sprite sheet. But a lot of our animations are done like this by him by hand, and he has a just my plug for what he's been doing, I guess. But this is kind of like our shared space online, and he has been sharing, I haven't actually seen this one, some of these speed paints, right? Where it's like basically a lot of what he drew, he recorded the process of creating. And the idea is like we'll be able to use this for like marketing material, also just like personal archival purposes for me because I think it's so cool. But just to say, like, yeah, this has been an integral piece of the plan for the marketing is everything that he's created. He's been trying to like capture this so that we can run them in like short form content and like other things as well. Yeah, and then in here is I mean this is all the art that he shared, and like, you know, there's like it's all here. There's a lot of it. There's stuff that's like not even in the game yet. I need to do my job. And yeah, and I think realistically, I would just talk briefly about what's next. So we need to form a company and get a Steam page. Like those are two things that like we desperately need to do. I think the project is far enough along now that there's enough things that we could be showing even without a demo that could potentially be getting us like wish list or like, you know, at least like feedback from people. And so like that's one where it's kind of annoying because it's like I think both of us are a lot more in it for like the passion of creation process, but also like it's feeling good enough and serious enough now that like we need to, you know, at least position ourselves to be able to win that stuff. And then really just the finishing of the content of it, because essentially I have not implemented that friend system, which is probably the last, like, I mean, it does, some of it does work. I'm not gonna try to show any of it, but like this part right here where the actual hearts go up and like there's a tooltip to tell you what you need to get is like very top of mind for me because this is what I need to do to get the story going basically. And then from there, like we need to try to get some serious playtests going and like try to like, you know, button up every loose end and everything, and then once the like core mechanic is like really great, try to actually, you know, get all the bells and whistles that make it marketable to the market, such as like controller support, like localization in languages is another one. Like I've read a lot about it, and like, you know, I'm trying to keep all the dialogue in a spreadsheet, and am, you know, kind of failing at that at some points, I'll be honest. But I also haven't like, that's like the next like serious part is that this whole concept of like these characters talking need to be triggered off of the events in the game and like progressing you through their hearts and giving you the trinkets. And so, yeah, and so there's definitely a lot to do. It's definitely a way bigger project than I think either Naeem or I intended to undertake. But I also think I want to make a game I was proud of that like had enough to look like, you know, yes, this is my freshman offering, but it is not a gray box on like a green background, and like, you know, there's some skills evident, right? Like is the idea. And yeah, I mean, if anybody's got any questions, I'll take those. Otherwise, I think that's about a perfect hour for me. I wouldn't belabor it.
What were your plans for like monetizing?
Yeah, I mean, we plan to sell it at $6.99 with basically a like 25% permanent discount. Like try to, you know, keep it low, but try to keep it there, and like everything's in the box, no DLC, no like none of that. Like, yeah, and just hope that we can use enough of like the screenshots and the like media to like go viral. I mean, if I'm honest, that's the dream, right? Like go viral and get somebody to like get a streamer to play it and make a whole wall of it at their house, just like a Fishtographers wall or projector or something in their building.
For the Cozy Coast, was the idea for that to be like
Yeah, I mean, my dream, the whole thing started because of this, where we were coming to the game jam, and my thought was, hey, let's do a game jam where we build this fish tank, maybe not ASCII art, like let's do vector art, but then at the game jam, we'll be able to walk people through making a simple fish, right? Like the whole original thought was we were going to get other people, we were going to help people at the game jam make their first fish asset. And then the dream is, I don't know, I've also always liked this thing, and like I do occasionally put it up on my other monitor with music on. And so then it was like, yeah, and I could make a better one of these, right? And so Cozy Coast is the idea that like instead of you're getting like pre-canned levels that we picked, it's like you could build the perfect exact one that you wanted with like all blue coral and only a clownfish, you know, and like that kind of dream.
Did you mention that there was plans for a demo?
Yeah, we want to have a demo. The truth is, we were originally trying to get to the Steam Next Fest in June, and that's like you have to have a demo for that. And so it was like that was really where the demo came from. And now it's like, you know, a demo is a good marketing tool for us to try to get some like, especially also to get some play testing done on like real machines, because I have no doubt that, you know, this thing is going to be buggy in the real world somehow. You know what I mean? Like it just wouldn't, like I already know resolutions are a massive issue. But the reality is like there's this thing is broken on different refresh rates, right? But I know it's scary. But the truth is, and I'm maybe saying that just to Naeem in case he's watching, the truth is there's not actually that many process functions. There's only like a dozen of them, and I just need to go in there and like tweak them and multiply by the delta. But I just haven't done it yet. And so like there's a lot of support stuff and key rebindings, controller support, like all the things you would expect a good Steam game to have. And like not even because I necessarily think this game will make us millionaires, but because I want the caliber of this game to be good enough where when I go into the next game, I don't have to figure those things out, right? And it's like, yeah, I've already like done localization and controller support and like, you know, all these type of things before, which I haven't yet. And so it's like, if I can get it, right, I'm still marching towards the works on my machine at like, you know, 60 FPS. And once I've got that, then we'll start trying to port it. But yeah, I feel like this.
Excited to try it out.
If you want to play it now, you can.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, you don't gotta. We can end the stream or whatever because I